broadcast as much as humanly possible. Predators. Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche pregame show live from the Toyota Lounge, powered by your Front Range Toyota dealerships. We got J. Mike, we got Rudo coming to you. The Avs taking on the Nashville Predators after 3 days off. J. Mike, when you have that kind of rest, no real excuses, right?
None that I can think of. I mean, I was always looking for excuses in school back in the day, so I'm sure if you gave me enough time, I could come up with something. But no, this is an opportunity to get right. You should be well rested. You know, you got Blackwood back in net. I mean, this is a great opportunity to hopefully start another home winning streak.
Hopefully so, and certainly keep the home point streak going, as you still have that goose egg in the regulation losses target too. So let's jump in and check in on our Common Spirit injury report first, as there is a little bit of good news when it comes to the injury report. Nothing major. Number one, Blackwood back in and will be the starter tonight, so that's good up front. But also, after the little bit of iffiness about Ross Colton, that he is in and going to play today as well. Of course, you still have the normal guys that have been on here for a little while that are week to week. So, you know, still dealing with some injuries, but on the mend, on the whole, for the Colorado Avalanche. Experience the difference compassion makes. Find a Common Spirit location near you and discover a new standard of health and healing by visiting mountain.commonspirit.org. Common Spirit Health, official healthcare partner of the Denver Broncos. How is Blackwood coming back meaningful? Like, obviously, you want your starting goaltender back, but is this a little bit of an emotional lift for Colorado?
I would think so. I mean, I don't think there was panic about his status or concern that he was going to be out for weeks on end or anything like that. But you basically probably got the right performance over the 2 games from Minor. If we're looking at the goal output, like, you get the shutout, you know, give up 4 in the other game, that evens out pretty nicely. But I feel like this is just a confidence booster, right? Because he's been so steady over the last year, and I just think it's a big boost emotionally to have that steady presence, and hopefully the Avs play like it.
You would like to see it. I mean, the Avs have been a little bit, I wouldn't say weird, but call it inconsistent with some of the injuries that they're dealing with. And you see a little bit of the ups and downs with this team right now. The answer may legitimately be never, but what would it take to actually start feeling a little bit of concern, given the Avs have lost 3 of their last 5? If they drop one tonight, does that concern start to creep in, or is this really just you're fine, get through it?
I mean, a lull is probably inevitable at some point over the course of the season. Like, they're not subhuman as much as we joke about Makar and some of these guys being hockey aliens. Like, that is somewhat realistic. And a lot of the guys had been sick over the last couple of weeks. So, like, I don't think it's necessarily shocking that it's been a little bit of a sluggish stretch here, but I mean, with a 7-game homestand, that's a big opportunity on the schedule to take advantage. And I don't think, again, you should panic all that much. You still got the home points streak going. It's not like you're getting dominated in regulation or anything like that, but you would start trending the wrong direction. And that's certainly not what you would like to see with such an extended period at home here, because, you know, last week we're talking about, you know, being in your own beds and the advantage of that. It would be disappointing if the second half of this homestand is a bit of a backslide, I would say.
Yeah, there's there's a line between disappointment and actual concern, though, right? Like,
that's a good point.
You know the Avs might be better than a poor stretch of hockey, but given the cushion they've given themselves, it's hard for me at least to say, oh, I'd be seriously concerned. Even if they dropped a couple of more games on this homestand, which I hope they don't, that would certainly be frustrating, but I don't know that I would have serious concerns about the team if that did happen.
I mean, I think you still have an 11-point lead in the division, so that's the benefit of having established that wiggle room, right? Is you've bought yourself some slack because you've been so steady to this point of the season. Don't know if you can do that over the entire course of the regular season.
For sure.
I mean, I don't want to get too overreactionary because they lose a weird game, to Toronto and OT, anything like that. Like they've shown to this point who they are, but it would be nice to see them come out with an A performance because it has been a little while since we've seen that.
You want it, and I don't know that this is necessarily directly causational, but you look over this course of the last 5 games, all 3 games they lose, they get scored on first. The 2 games they win
from behind.
Yeah, exactly. They Ottawa and Columbus were reasonably blowouts, but you start a blowout by scoring first and you run away with the game instead of having to fight and claw a little bit more. The Toronto game maybe felt a little bit different. The Avs pushed back and had a lead in the second period of that one. But still, for a team that has, I shouldn't say for the Avs only, for a season that the league has seen so many teams expend so much energy because of how much hockey you're playing in such a short span, it's important to find those little bits of rest here and there that you can, which kind of circles back around to what I was talking about at the start. 3 days off, the Avs should be about as rested as they've been for, I guess, since the Christmas break. You got a decent rest. So after a long stretch of hockey, you expect Colorado to... It's hard to absolutely say you want them to play the A game, but they should certainly have their legs.
Yeah, most definitely. And I'm probably being a little bit too critical. I mean, it's been I'm not used to them being off for this long. I'm sitting here pulling up the schedule. It's like that 8-2 game feels like an eternity ago, but they've played good hockey of late, I should add, just since I was being critical there a second ago. But yeah, I mean, you've had 3 days off. You got your starter back in net. You're reasonably healthy as far as the lines go. It's not like you've got a hodgepodge out there, and you're going against a team who, frankly, you have significantly more firepower than. And granted, that's a pretty easy line to throw out. You can basically say that against every single opponent they play this season. But I mean, you look at this Nashville lineup, like I was joking about it pregame, but it's like it feels like a lot of guys who you would have been stoked to have on, like a video game roster 6-7 years ago, not in the year, 2026.
Yeah, a lineup of Stamkos, Marchessault, and O'Reilly, let alone some of the other pieces they have, would be a cup team in 2018. But in 2026, they're not even a playoff team. That's kind of the reality. We do have the stat cards we can pull up here. As always, I wish I had something more interesting to say about the Avs stat card, but the number 1 is the loneliest number maybe for the Avs stat card. On Nashville's side of it, though, I do think there is an interesting conversation here because Nashville has been playing better as of late as far as their actual results, but their underlying hockey is still quite poor. This is not a team that you come out and expect to really play effective hockey, especially against some of the top teams in the leagues like the Avs. Where's the line between a team shouldn't scare you and you're being overconfident, J-Mike?
It's fine, certainly. I mean, they're a divisional opponent, right? So you want to have a healthy respect for an opponent that theoretically is going to know your organization fairly well. But I mean, this is a team you're better than. I know they've won some games of late. I think they're 4-2 over the last 6.
Yep.
What do you attest to them being able to grind these games out? Like, what do you feel like's been different of late for them?
To be honest, I think this is a normal ebb and flow of a season of a bad hockey team where you hit Mid-December really is where I think the desperation starts to set in for a team like Nashville, who's at the bottom. You start hear the rumors swirling of, oh, well, they're going to start selling guys, and no, this is, the season's teetering on the brink, and you wonder a little bit about the future of the team, and you get that push of, hey, we need to give that extra 10%. This is our playoffs type of thing. We have to play this well to have any chance of getting into the playoffs come April. And teams regularly do have that stretch where they play a little bit better. And then you get into mid-January, or what would be in a normal season be mid-February, which, that doesn't really happen this year. And those teams usually implode. We watch them run out of gas, and they don't have the ability to play playoff-style hockey for 4 straight months. It's just, that's too much of an ask for the human body to withstand. And so you wonder, is Nashville still in that mode? Do they still have enough left in the tank to really go punch for punch with the Colorado tonight? Or do we see this be the cliff for a team like Nashville and the Avs do something similar to what they did to Ottawa?
I mean, my gut is that both these teams are due to revert to the mean, right? The Avs just lost a game at home, which almost never happens. Nashville, they've grinded some games out, credit to them. Now you come and face a different animal in the Avalanche, especially, again, I just keep coming back to having Blackwood back in net. I just think kind of changes the tone. While these last couple of games, you certainly still wanted to win them. I'm not saying because Minor was out there, you can just completely write it off or anything like that. But I do think there's some human nature there to, we've got our third goalie in net. Yeah, we want to win, but we know that if we do drop it, it's just kind of one of those where you have the natural built-in, it's Minor in there. What are you going to do?
Sure.
And I know this team's hyper competitive, but I just think there's a little human nature in that.
Yeah, no doubt. It's not even as an excuse thing, just as an understanding of the situation that you're in.
Yeah.
I also think it changes the way you play a little bit. Not even necessarily consciously, but subconsciously. Maybe you're selling out a little bit more on the defensive end, and that creates a little bit more chaos than maybe you would like against a team like the Leafs. Nashville is not a team that creates a lot of chaos. They are a team of, like you said, used to be real high talent guys. Still have good talent, but maybe not quite the high level they were at. And that leads to a team that plays into a skill game a little bit more, a team you can take advantage of and have a lot of one and done shifts in your own zone, where if you stop their initial opportunity, you're going back the other way. We've seen the Avs slip with that a little bit over this stretch. Obviously, the loss of Devon Taves hurts that defensive structure a good bit. Even the loss of Gabe Landeskog, one of your better defensive forwards, hurts that. Is there a little bit of treating it like a get-right game in that sense? And maybe it's a little weird to call it a get-right game because you usually think of that as more of a high-octane offensive thing. But can the Avs solve some of their defensive sloppiness against a team like Nashville?
You would hope so. I think this is a team you should be able to dictate the pace of play against. And I think that kind of plays right into what you're talking about of creating some of those breakout opportunities. I mean, this team's so dangerous in transition. Like, I feel like that's when they're most scary, is when you have the other team subconsciously hesitant to, even come too hard at you because they don't want to give up the turnover and be, back on their heels going against your speed. And an older lineup in Nashville, it just feels like a game you should be able to really outskate them. And kind of looking at what they bring to the table offensively, they've got some guys that can finish. I mean, it's not like you want to give Ryan O'Reilly too much space, or, Forsberg or Stamkos. Any of these guys can burn you in their own right. But I just think from a 5-on-5 perspective, like, this is a game you've kind of got to flex both your youth and just your athletic advantage.
Yeah, it's tough. At 5-on-5, the Avs should be the best team in the NHL. Mechanically, statistically, they are the best team in the NHL, right? And you want to see them dominate that aspect of the game. But, and I know Nashville has a decent penalty kill, maybe it's the time of the season where the Avs can start doing things in a little bit of a different way. And I'm not asking them to score 5 power play goals or anything, but you want to see them start breaking through in that aspect of the game. And I know they've scored a couple power play goals lately. That's great. But it's about that consistency factor. Maybe you look at this at a different angle and say, hey, the Avs have been a little bit more inconsistent in some of the parts of the game where they've been so dominant. Can you make that up by finding a different avenue of attack on the power play? Maybe it's even weird situations like 4-on-4 or something like that.
The thing we've been saying about the power play for so long now is that it greatly elevates your ceiling, right? And right now, they've been so borderline perfect in the other areas that they've been able to just coast on that, but it only increases your margin for error if you can get that power play going. It offsets so much, and it's been trending the right direction, I think. Yeah, but it's still a point where when it performs, it's noteworthy and it's a bit of a surprise, right? So we got to get to a point where it's just the norm and the power play is consistent. We're not asking for the best power play in the league. Can you get it to 20th in the league? Because if they can, this team just becomes that much more, overwhelming.
I love the phrasing too, because I think that's all you really are looking for through the rest of this homestand for the Avs is get things back to normal. If you play every aspect of Avs hockey normal, certainly against teams like Nashville, you should be winning.
You've shown so many times that when you even give a C+ effort, you're multiple goals better than these types of teams. So I mean, if you do what you're supposed to do, this really shouldn't even be a game. Now, I do think that Nashville, and I know some people have mentioned this in the chat, can kind of bog the game down a little bit. They're good at that. But again, this is a game where you got to be the one dictating the tempo and just the intensity of the matchup.
There are teams that can bog games down against a team like the Avalanche in a sense of they clog up the neutral zone and they make it hard to get through. But I don't think Nashville really has the skill set that's set up to slow down a team that is as fast as the Colorado Avalanche are capable of playing. It takes a certain kind of special defense to be able to hold teams up at the red line and blue line. And there are teams in the league that can do that. But the way you see the skating difference in these two teams, some older legs on the Nashville side, some guys that maybe live off of IQ more than their actual skating ability, only gets you so far when Nathan MacKinnon is going 22 miles an hour through the neutral zone. Doesn't matter how smart you are, those train tracks are going to run you over. So Colorado, there's less standing in the way, I think, of Colorado doing that dominating that you were just talking about. If we're talking about getting back to normal, though, Jared Bednar's pressers pregame feel a lot more normal when he keeps them short and sweet like he did today. Let's hear from Coach on this one.
Okay, questions for head coach Jared Bednar? Colleen, go ahead.
Just checking this morning, Ross Fulton was on the ice. Is he good to go tonight?
He is, yeah.
Okay. And Blackwood in net?
Yes.
Go ahead, Evan.
This team has played you guys hard, and they're one of the hotter teams in the league. Just, I guess, what have you seen from them the last few weeks?
Competitive, right? So they had the slow start to the season. Now they're a highly competitive team. They're in every game they're playing right now. They've already beat us once, and so we got to be prepared to play tonight. One couple things they do real well is they bring the puck to your net hard and put numbers on it, and they can be a handful at your net front, so we'll have to be prepared for that.
Corey, then Jesse.
I think Gavin Brindley hasn't scored in like a month, and I know that even at the beginning of the year when he was collecting points, I think you were probably talking about some of the other stuff in his game that wasn't. Just have you kind of been satisfied with how he's playing throughout his season?
Yeah, I'm satisfied for sure. I think I think he's a guy that can provide us production, so he's gone a little bit cold here recently. Different line mates, different amounts of ice time in some of those games, so I can't put it all on him. He runs shorthanded, and if we shorten the bench up a little bit, then he loses some ice time here and there. But I still expect him to be a guy that can help us produce on a nightly basis, and it's highly involved, but I still like his game away from the puck a lot.
Jesse, then Megan.
You guys got a long break here coming up in a couple weeks, and I'm sure it's going to be pretty welcomed. How do you make sure the group
doesn't look past whatever it is these next 10 games or start losing focus on that?
We'll just monitor it. I mean, we've been really good this year, coming in focused at almost every game we play, right? So that's the trend that we've had, and I think I have confidence in our team to stay focused until the break. We'll take the break when the break starts.
Megan, go ahead.
You coach a really experienced and mature group. A lot of these guys have been around the league for a long time, so Brindley is kind of an outlier in that sense.
Yeah.
What kind of additional consideration maybe do you give him or check in with him to make sure he's getting everything that he needs as a young player at that stage?
Yeah, sporadic, but all of our coaches kind of like check in with him. It's almost the same as any other player. Like, I like to give him the respect of any other player, even though he's a young guy. He's played at a high level and he's got a lot of talent. We know he fits in here, so we monitor his game. We go over things with him that are looking good, not looking good, whatever it is. But he's been pretty consistent. You know, it's not all about just producing points for us. Like, I want to make sure the other areas of his game are tight, and they are. The effort's still there. He's a relentless player, and, you know, to me, you just keep doing those things and take care of your process, and then the production will take care of itself. So I don't get too excited if he gets hot for a couple of games, and I don't get too down if he's cold for a few games. You know, I like to see him break out of this, and like many players, it's a matter of getting one and then stringing them together. So I think he's capable of doing that.
Beth?
Ivan gets the call back up here tonight too. I know you're probably looking for something specific from some of those call-ups from the Eagles. What deserved another call-up for Ivan?
Well, he's played well when he's been here. Again, like, he's played some games where he's at the 10-minute mark and everything's looking good. Sometimes we shorten the bench and it's 5. You know, like the game in Toronto the other night wasn't a great indicator of what I think he can provide for us. I like the center because I want to keep Kelly on the wing on the third line. I think that line's starting to find some chemistry and doing a nice job on both sides of the puck. So that all goes into it, right? There's only so many centers we have that we can call up, and he's doing a nice job of it right now, so he's back.
Perfect. Thanks, Jared. Appreciate
All
it.
right, thank you.
Bedsy kind of talked about it there. The Avs have been really good this year about taking it one game at a time. They don't get too high. They don't get too low on their streaks. But that's how you want them to think. And I have no problems with that approach, and it's ideal. Would it be the worst thing in the world, though, if the Avs said, hey, we're 2.5 weeks to the Olympic break. Maybe the focus should just be nobody get hurt?
No, in the grand scheme of things, but I just don't think that's how this team approaches things, especially when you've got McKinnon in murder mode, which he seems to be this season, which is what makes this team so special and so fun, right? But I think also it's why that even-keeled presence of Bednar is so key for this team. It's just a good balance, and I think you'll have some of that being kind of conveyed down from even the Landeskog's of the world. Like, they get it. And then there's, you know, I think McKinnon and some of these other guys who are like, no, we've got the next 4 at home, so let's dominate, and we'll worry about 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, I know that's the case, but the worrier in me thinks I don't care that much about the results of these next couple of games as long as you're all healthy. It's totally fine. As Dallas lost the other night to Utah again, so there is really no one threatening the Avs crown right now as far as the top of the NHL, let alone the West. I
just fear like if you coast too much going into the break,
yeah,
and then you're off a couple of weeks, like that's
Yeah.
a long time to not be locked in.
You don't want to come back in March and all of a sudden be in a funk. I totally understand. It's the concept of trying to play to stay healthy is great. The practice of it almost always leads to sloppy, ugly, gross stuff that you don't actually want. So from that perspective, I get it. Also, you know, McKinnon has like a Hart and a Rocket and an Art Ross to go win. So maybe don't let your foot off the gas if you're Nathan McKinnon. Keep that going. On the depth of the Avs lineup, though, look, McKinnon, Natchez, Makar, whether they're human or alien, you know they're going to get theirs most nights. It's the depth that you want to see. I don't know that you want to see, but would you like to see a little bit more balance there? It feels like the Avs have heavily relied on that second line and Brock Nelson. is there a way to get a little bit more out of the Brinleys like Bednar was talking about, the Jack Drurys of the world?
I think so, but I also think some of that is dictated on getting right defensively. Because
Sure.
especially, you know, when you don't have Tays out there, I think those lower lines are more in the let's not be the reason we lose this game mindset. Let's
Yeah.
make sure we're playing smart. You know, we're being steady. And that's where I don't want to get too hypercritical or too panicky, because I think those guys have shown that they can be productive. Yes, you'd like a little bit more consistency, but also, again, it feels like forever ago, but you had quite a bit of depth production in that 8-goal game. So I think it's there. But this is the type of game, you know, where it would be nice to see a 2-point game from someone like Brinley or Drury or whoever it is.
Yeah. You're in this weird place with the Avs, right? Where, yeah, they haven't played their best hockey, but you still feel like a lot of these issues that you're diving down into are nitpicks. The team is still doing a lot of things right, and that regression to the mean of maybe picking up a couple of losses shouldn't change anything about the Avs keep doing what they're doing when it comes to the success of their hockey game, which, how are they going to do it tonight, J-Mike? Let's bust out the crystal ball. Give me a name, give me a score. What's going to happen in this game?
He's been hot, so I'm going to keep riding that train. I'm going to say Brock Nelson gets one tonight.
Okay, I'm down.
On the power play would be ideal, just to keep the vibes going. But I'm going to say the Avs win. I think it's going to be tighter than I'd like it to be, so I'm going to say they win 3-1.
Okay. I don't know how I feel about this game. I really do think it could be a blowout or it could be 1-0. Like, I don't have a good vibe. I have good vibes. I don't have a good read on the game tonight. I'm going to take Marty Necas.
I like it.
Just because I think the top line is...
They're humming.
They're feeling a little bit of the juice when it comes to putting the puck in the back of the net right now. So keep that rolling. And Nashville is not the type of team to have the depth to really challenge you if your top guys go off like that. I'm going to go with the high-scoring side. I've made up my mind. I'm going 5-3 on this one.
It's more fun.
Fun. And a 5-3 where the Avs are in control the whole way. A team that gets to play with a lead and not have to worry too much about scrapping this one out unnecessarily. We can get into more, though, with my pre-game picks, which are presented by Bet365, which, of course, things are never ordinary over there. I did really go all in on Marty Necas. I took a Marty Necas hat trick for plus 8,000. Got to be honest with you, there's not a lot of great lines when it's a team as weak as Nashville playing against Colorado, but you get even money on the over. And with Ross Colton in, healthy enough to play, why not get him a point? He can score on that, I guess if it's on the power play, Colton won't be out there, but let's see Colton get a point. I picked a point because he's cursed and may never score an actual goal again, but he's been producing pretty well in the lineup as of late. So see him pick up some stuff. If you have any other bets you want to get on, make sure you do it with Bet365. Use the DNVR 365 code when you sign up. Of course, when you do gamble with Bet365, you must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER today. Last
6.5 is good value. I like that. They've hit that 5 out of the last 6, I think.
It's been some high scoring hockey as of late for Colorado, so you might as well get in on it while the plus is on the plus minus there. Colorado continues to face a number of these, I don't want to be rude, but maybe the weaker teams from the West is mostly what they've played outside of the one game against Dallas, the one game against Minnesota. I guess have they played 2 against Minnesota? Yeah, 2 against Minnesota, I guess. Are these games keeping you sharp against Central opponents, or is this just another hockey team?
Kind of feels like just another hockey team.
Yeah.
It's been a weird schedule. You don't play Minnesota again until late February. You don't have any games against Dallas in there. Like it's going to be a lot of kind of intense games in a stretch there in February and March. So there's there's going to be a price to be paid for that. But again, I think this is also where you'd really like to take advantage of the schedule and get to a point where, if you're 20 points up in the division, then some of those late games, you're not putting what could be heavy tread on the tires, because it is kind of a situation like 2022 where you're coasting down a little bit, we'll see how they ultimately play things. It kind of feels like this team might be into trying to go for a record. I'm not sure. We'll see. But I would prefer if, those games, come March and, going into April, it's like, it'd be nice if they won the division by 25 points, but they don't have to.
Make hay while the sun shines, I guess. We're going to wrap up this pregame show. We appreciate y'all hanging out. Watch along coming with Micah and myself in a minute here, and then J. Mike will be back on for postgame where we'll break it all down for you. We appreciate y'all, and we will see you in a few minutes. This has been the DNVR Avalanche pregame show.
We all silly like the mayor.